start out just making sure we're all on the same page, talking a little bit about Ascribe Coder, the modernized version of Ascribe Coder. Ascribe Coder was released on September 20th of 2013. It is available today in Ascribe. Oh, 1 second, there we go. And start this guy back out. There we go. It is available today in the Ascribe that you're using today. When you right-click on a question, you can access Ascribe Coder. I'd just like to make sure everyone realizes that that it is a live product, and you can use it today for production work. Ascribe Coder was created to merge the functionality of 4 pages: the review responses, single response coder interface, and edit the codebook. Then also edit the Codebook Editor Preview, but Codebook Editor Preview was removed from Ascribe when we released Ascribe Coder on September 20th. Ascribe Coder was developed with the Ascribe community in mind. We actually tested Ascribe Coder with the users group, and they've been solely focused on Ascribe Coder for most of the past year. And we've also kept the users-based wish list at hand when we were rewriting review responses, single response coder interface, and edit the codebook to be one super-powered coding page. Ascribe Coder was also written so that it could be multi-browser compatible. So you can use Ascribe Coder or access Ascribe Coder through Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, or Safari on a Mac. A little bit about what we've been through with Ascribe Coder since September. Again, we are constantly searching, asking, trying to get you to submit your feedback on Ascribe Coder. And due to that feedback, we've had quite a few patches to our version 7.5 release. I'm not going to go over all of the things that we've updated, but what I do want to talk about is what's going on for the rest of 2014. We have a spell check ready for testing. It will actually be tentatively released in March of 2014. Then in June of 2014, our version 8 of Ascribe will be released, and that's when we'll be removing review responses and removing the single response coder interface and removing edit the codebook. So these 3 tools are tentatively scheduled to be removed from Ascribe in June of 2014. That's probably the most important thing that you'll hear today. I want to make sure that everybody realizes that those pages will be going away, and Ascribe Coder will be the exclusive coding tool. Version 8.1 is the release of Ascribe Illustrator, which is important to some of us, but then version 8.2 is tentatively scheduled for August of 2014. That's when we'll see our updated version of Phrase Analyzer. That is currently under development, so we'll see the updated version of Phrase Analyzer tentatively in August of 2014. And some of the desktop functionality, for those of you that use desktop, will be moving to Ascribe Web, and that's the merge map capabilities mainly. And then in version 8.3, which is scheduled for October of 2014, you'll see the removal of desktop and Symasium updates. But I like to go through this just so everybody knows where we're at. We're all on the same page before I actually get into the demo. So now I'm going to actually go into Ascribe Coder. Well, actually, I'm going to go to Ascribe and navigate over to Ascribe Coder. I'm navigating the supervisor studies, and I'm going to be using the static hair study that most of you are familiar with. And today I'm going to actually be looking at Q8. I'm going to choose Ascribe Coder. All right. So Ascribe Coder is laid out similar to review responses. We've got our codebook on the right side of the page. Our nets are bolded. Our codes are in regular font. Our counts and percentages are after the code. Okay? Above our codebook, we have a codebook toolbar. This is what I'll be focused on today, but first I'm going to just talk a little bit about the general layout. The left side of the screen is our response pane. I've been over most of these tools in previous webinars. Those webinars were recorded, and I'm working with someone to get them published. And we'll let everybody know, hopefully via a message on the home page, when those are published, so you can have access to those webinars. But the response side of the screen is where we return our responses. And above that, we do have our response toolbar. And then to the far right, in that response pane, we have our multi-mode and our single response mode. Whenever I'm doing these demos, I'm pretty much staying in multi-mode. I will be doing a webinar on just single response mode sometime in March. One of the important things about Ascribe Coder, the redeveloped interface or reconfigured interface, is that our navigation is now, we now navigate to another place in Ascribe via the navigation icon. So notice when I click on the navigation icon, and I can do a left click or a right click on the navigation icon, and I get my main menu for navigation. The right click navigation is no longer available in Ascribe Coder, and that's kind of the future of Ascribe as they rewrite the tools in Ascribe and kind of condense and bring everything to multi-browser compatibility. We'll be navigating from place to place using our navigation icon. All right. At the bottom of the screen is our question information. And our question information, when you first log into Ascribe Coder, I believe it looks something like this. You can use the resizer bar so that you're showing what you want to show. And if you're not fond of having the question information on the screen at all times, you can actually expand and collapse the little question information down here. Okay. All right, so now today I'm going to be focused mainly on the Codebook. All right? And when I'm working with the Codebook, I have the ability to completely collapse the response pane so that I'm just focused on the Codebook. And I just wanted to make sure I showed that to you. Also, I've got a resizer bar between my Codebook and my responses. All right, so I've already talked about what we can do, how we can edit our Codebook, you know, right-click, code properties to edit a code, that I can also insert a code by right-clicking and choosing Insert a Code. Today, what I wanted to talk about were the tools at the top of my my Codebook toolbar. And the tools we can use our tools without unlocking our Codebook. Okay? The first tool that we have here is our search tool. And the search tool allows me to find codes in my Codebook. So if I'm coding and I need to find a certain code in my Codebook, for instance, what if I'm just interested in finding an other code? I can type in the word other, and I've got some options here. I've got an option to match the case, to match the whole word, to match it backwards, to select the code found, or to find all the codes that have this word in it. So what I want to do, a lot of times, I'll find all the codes. So if I need to apply a certain other, I can look for other, and it brings up all the codes that have the word other in it. When I'm finished with my search, I can minimize and close, and then when I hit it again, it brings it back up. So now maybe I want to find those codes that have the word stick in it, and it brings up 2 codes. I can close it, and it brings my Codebook back up. So the important thing about the find is that after you find, after I hit enter and I find, to bring my regular Codebook back up, to get back to the whole Codebook, I have to hit the close button, and it brings my entire Codebook back up. Okay, that's a common question. Once I do my search, how do I get my Codebook back? You just have to hit the close button. So search and close. Another thing you might notice is that we have the little help icon that will bring up the help for searching the code in the Codebook. So anytime you have a little dialog box, you should have a little help icon that will take you to the help section for that particular code or that particular box, sorry. Okay, so that's our search for the Codebook. The second option we have here is print. And print, allows us to export our codes. And, you know, you can go through and figure out which work best for you. I know the popular one, of course, is the Excel spreadsheet. So if I hit OK, it's going to, there we go, it's going to export my code book. And when I click on it, it should open up that code book, but sometimes when I'm using GoToMeeting and trying to do multiple things here, there we go. But I do want to show you what we get here when we export to Excel. Interesting. 1 second. Well, you know what? That'll pop up when it's finished downloading. All right. So we can print to Excel. We can print our codebook to Word. But then we have this option to print all of the codebooks in the study to Word. Okay. In the introduction, in the PowerPoint, I let you guys know that we do have a server-side spell check coming out for Ascribe Coder, scheduled for the end of March. In the meantime, if you do need to spell check all of your code books, it's very handy to export them all to Word and do a quick spell check there, just to make sure. And for those of you that are using IE or Chrome, I should say IE 10 or above, or Chrome, you'll notice that when you type in a word for your code, so you're typing in your code description, that if you mistype or misspell something, it will suggest or let you know that you've mistyped or misspelled something. So this is the Excel export for our code book, and you'll notice that it tells us the level, whether it's a net or not, and then the output ID, the description, and then the count and percentage. Okay, so that's just one of the exports that we have available. I urge you to go ahead and try the different print options, or as I like to call them, export options, so that you can find the one that works best for you. All right. Also, I should say that when you're printing, so now we're going to the actual settings, and real quick here, I need to do this. There's a small bug that when you open help, it keeps opening up. So I'm going to pop right back into Ascribe Coder now without opening help. There we go. So another thing to say is that when you print your code book, what gets printed is determined by your settings. So now I've clicked on my settings. So since I have my output ID and my counts selected, it's going to output my output ID and my counts. If I wanted my regular expressions exported, then I would turn on my regular expressions. Okay? So in my settings box, I've got a couple of options. The first tab is my show, and this affects whether the code book's locked or unlocked. These things are showing. Okay? And you'll notice that we've got a codes area, a nets area, and then a help area. Okay? So if I want to show my long help, then I turn on my long help. If I want to show my hover help, then I turn on my hover help. Okay? So notice when I turn on my hover help, you look under Control Eliminate Subnet, and this is my hover help for that is Control Subnet. Okay? So it shows me when I have hover help, it will show my hover help. Okay? All right. So again, this show tab affects whether the code book is locked or unlocked, and we have the option to show input ID, output ID, code ID, regular expressions, or counts. The code ID is really only useful to our clients that use Dimensions, so you'll know who you are if you need to see the code ID. Our second tab is our When Locked tab, and the When Locked tab allows us to customize or format the code book for use while we're coding. Because when the code book is locked, we're usually coding, right? And we have that option to show borders if we want when it's locked. We have the option to turn on the selection checkbox. This selection checkbox just makes sure, in order to select the code, we actually have to check it. Okay, so that's an option. Whether we want the information button in front of each code, if we've got the information button on, we can just click on the I to see the information about that particular code. My machine's running a bit slow today. There we go. So that's information about not controls eliminate flyaway hair. Okay, and that's because I have that information button on. The icon tooltips, I'm going to actually skip over that one. The hover help tooltips will show us the hover help when we hover over a particular code. Okay, so I've hover help in for each of these nets, and I can quickly show you. Just add hover help here real quick. And now when I hover over that, you see there's my new hover help. So that's what the hover help tooltips is all about. And again, these are options for when the codebook is locked. We have a codes only view that I've covered before, but I do want to cover again. And in the codes only view, what we can do is say, okay, while I'm coding, I want to see my codes without the nets organized by output ID. So now I'm seeing my codes without the nets organized by output ID. Or, even more popular, I want to see my codes without the nets organized by description. So they're alphabetized. This would be helpful if we were coding a brand list that was netted, and we'd rather see the list, alphabetized rather than netted, by the way we created the codebook. To get the codebook back to normal, we just toggle off Show Codes Only View. And now we've got our normal view of the codebook. One thing to note, when we turn on Show Codes Only View, you see up here, we see the 93 over 348 that tells us 93 responses out of 348 have been coded, or 26%. In Show Codes Only View, that goes away. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I explained that. All right, so those are our when locked features or settings. And of course, when the codebook is unlocked, and I'll go ahead and unlock my codebook. When the codebook is unlocked, we do show the borders around the codes. That's a permanent, uncustomizable view. We do have this option to turn off the move handle. The move handle is the thing that allows us to drag one code at a time, right? So we can turn that off if we like. We can turn on our info button here. And we can also go to direct edit mode that makes each item in the codebook editable. And that's our when unlocked features. And then we have our appearance. And the appearance really allows us just to change the font and the font size of our codes. All right. Okay, so those are our settings. Again, you'll notice that there is a little help icon. I'm not going to click on it, but that would show us the help for our codebook settings. The next view is our summary view, and the summary view is helpful when we have nets. And what the summary view does is it allows us to open up just a particular net in our codebook and collapse everything else. So if I want just my efficacy net opened, then I click on efficacy net, and it's opened, shows me the subnets that are in my efficacy net. I can expand those here, or I can expand those and see just my appearance to hair subnet or just my residue subnet, so on and so forth. So for those of us that have large code books, the summary view allows us to kind of quickly go, for instance, some of us have code books that are positive, negative, neutral. And if we want to just open our positive, we could click on our positive net. If we just wanted to open our negative, we could just open our negative net, and so on and so forth. Okay. So let me go back. Well, I thought I could expand all of those at once, but that's okay. So that's our summary view. We also have some codebook tools available to us. And the codebook tools give us, first of all, our expression list. And if I click on an individual expression, it's going to actually bring me or highlight that code in the codebook. Okay? So this is just telling me my output ID, the code, and the regular expression. I can output that to Excel if I want. So if I want a copy of all my regular expressions, or kind of want to look at them all and go through and figure out which ones I need to edit. If I did want to edit one, what I would do is right-click Code Properties and edit my regular expression. So maybe I don't want my brackets here. And hit OK. So that's my regular expression list. I also have a duplicates list. And for the duplicates list, let me just go ahead and add in a code. Let me insert a code called OK. So I've just added a code called not straighten hair. Notice, as soon as I open up my Codebook tools, the duplicates list tab is highlighted. That's telling me that I have a duplicate. And it checks for duplicate input values, duplicate output values, duplicate code IDs, and duplicate descriptions. It also checks for duplicate regular expressions. So I've got 2 codes not straighten hair, and I can click on them, and it will show me where they're at. So then I can say, okay, I want to actually get rid of this guy. And away he goes. And when I hit update, I no longer have my duplicates tab highlighted. Okay, very handy tool for checking your code book. And then the final tab here is my show usage tab, or the usage tab. And what that does is it gives us a kind of a top line report for our codes. And it lists the codes without the nets, and it gives us the counts and the percentages. And it gives us the count and the percentage based on the whole, so it gives us the percentage based on the 348 responses, and then it gives us the percentage based on what's being coded. Okay, so we've got percentages based on both, and then we can output this to Excel. All right. So those are the Codebook tools that I wanted to talk about today in our Codebook toolbar. I have gone over the tools when we unlock the ways that we can delete, color, renumber, and change the case when I talked about Codebooks last week. But if you have, so if there are any questions, I'm very happy to answer them. Julie, have there been any questions that came in?
Yes. One just came in about moving codes.
Okay.
How do you move an existing code to another subnet?
Oh, okay. So, and just so you know, that is going to be in one of the videos as well. But we can move codes. So to move codes, and I probably should turn my drag handle back on, my move handle. There we go. So when the codebook is locked, we can't move codes around. We have to unlock the codebook to move codes. And we can move codes one at a time. For instance, if not control eliminate static should be in my, I don't know, let's put it in my appearance net. I would just drag it up and drop it where it belongs. So I just moved code 409 between code 401 and 402. So again, to drag it, and you'll notice the little blue lined box. If I go too far over, it's going to tell me I can't do it. If I want it at the net level, you know, you'll see that it's now putting it at the net level. So this would be a sibling of controls eliminate static and miscellaneous efficacy. But really, I want it right here, and I drop it. So that's moving codes one at a time. That's all well and good. But if I want to move multiple codes at one time, then what I can do is highlight multiple codes. Boom, boom, boom. So say I need to move these 4 into my miscellaneous efficacy net. What I'll do is right-click on miscellaneous efficacy, move selection into. Now these 4 codes report to my miscellaneous efficacy net. Okay? And again, to do that, I'm going to have to first, and I'm going to just move these guys back where they belong. There we go, 406 and 410. But to do that, what we have to do, and I'll go ahead and right-click and deselect all, we select the codes that we want to move. Okay? So when our codebook is unlocked, we're mostly selecting, you know, I selected these 3, I want to move them under code 411. I right-click on code 411, move selection below. And notice when I have code selected that these tools light up. So now if I needed to change the color of those codes, I could change the color of those codes. I could renumber those codes. I could change the case of those codes. These tools only apply to what's been selected. All right, it's a little different than the way we're used to thinking. All right, Julie, I see this. Is there not a way to expand the entire code book? Do you remember that? How to do that? Because I don't right off the top of my head.
No, Laura, I don't remember.
Okay.
I mean,
okay,
I think
I'll
to play
investigate
with.
that.
Yeah. To see.
I know there was a way to do it. I just don't remember what it is right off the top of my head. So the question was, is there a way to expand the whole code book when you're working in the summary levels? You know, and now I want to expand the whole code book. I thought it was this, but it's not. So we'll investigate that one and get back to you on that. Okay.
Yes. Another question for you, Laura. If you could go back to the print.
Okay.
The question is, can you print only like the open ends? Or
no.
if you select that, okay.
Right. Is that
right.
the question? Can you just
yes.
print by question type?
Mm-hmm.
No, and that is a request that has come in. I do believe we still have that in our open cases, but the option to say, I want to just print my open ends, or I just, you know, well, most of the time you'd probably only want your open ends, or maybe just your other specifies. That is not, it's not an option today, but it is a request that we've had. So we'll make sure that that's still in our open items. Okay.
Okay. Another question about printing. When you print your open ends, do shared code books appear more than once?
Okay. Let's take a quick look. In this particular study, I have, give it just a second to finish up and open it up. Should be a little quicker. Oh, I opened it in Word. I meant to export to Excel, but that's okay. We'll see. So in this particular study, I just printed all my code books, and this is in Word, and my Q11 series is actually shared. Let's see where they're at. Okay, so this is my Q11 series right here. So you'll notice that it lists them all above it and then lists the code book. Okay, so the Q11 series is just listed the one time, and without my counts and percentages, that one might not be coded. Maybe that's why it didn't. So it does just list them once. Let me just quickly go out here. Yeah, I didn't have any coded in my Q11 series, but it would list them once. Let me just, Julie, do you know if we've coded in this? Does it give us our counts and percentages based on all, or does it
I am sorry, I don't remember either.
I know. I didn't prepare for this. This is in my next. I know I didn't prepare as much as I should have for that piece. There we go. Let me just do this real quick. Code a few of these guys and see where we're at.
While you're doing that, somebody else
asked
if it's easy to undo everything that you've been talking about, and I know that we do not have undo. In other words, people want to know, is there an undo button or anything feature, and there is not.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. So
no, there's no undo.
Mm-hmm. No.
So if you move codes, I see. So if you move codes around, is there a quick undo? That's no. We have to fix what we just did. And I will say one of the requests that we have is the ability to export, rather than to export all of our code books to Word, to export them all to Excel, which is what I thought I had just done before. I don't know why I thought that. So now I'm just making sure that it puts our counts in here. When we open this guy up and go down, here we go. Where are you? There we go. So now we have our counts and percentages across all of our shared codebook questions. Okay? So that answers that one. What else, Julie?
Okay. Now, this is not related to anything you've shown us today, but somebody asked, how do you turn off the notifications when another user changes the code book?
How do we change the notification? Oh, all right. So when the code book, when you're coding, if someone makes a change to the code book that you're using, so if Julie were in right now and she made a change to this brand code book and I were trying to code, it would tell me, I would get a notification or a message saying that the code book has been modified. We're not going to allow you to do that task you were just trying to do. Rather, we're going to refresh your code book and then you can do your task again. Okay? And that's just the code book change, the code book modification notice. We can change that if we have administrator privileges. We change that at the account level, okay? And at the account level, we have the option down here to not check for codebook changes in Ascribe Coder. If you turn that on, you will not get the notice that the codebook has been modified, all right? Your codebook won't be updated. You won't know when the codebook has been modified. Unless you unlock your code book. So if I'm working, and we'll just go into Q8 here, if I'm working along happily now, and my code book modification is turned, or notice, my code book modification notice has been disabled, right? And I unlock my code book, I will get a message that says the code book has changed and the code book will refresh. It doesn't always know who made the code book changes when we have those notices turned off, but what we're trying to prevent is you modifying the code book, moving codes around when someone else has already moved the codes around, because what we found is happening is if somebody moves codes in review responses and then you move codes over here in Ascribe Coder and you're moving the same code into a different net, we could get the code book ordinals all out of whack. So while review responses and Ascribe Coder are coexisting, we will be giving you that message when you unlock the code book. Even with the modification messages turned off, you will get it when you unlock the code book. Okay, and that's again just to protect the order of the code book, to make sure that you don't get yourself in a position where the codes kind of pop around, confusing the server. Does that answer the question, Julie?
Oh, yes, sure.
Okay, good.
Okay, there's another question. Will there be a possibility to export code books to freeware editors, for example, OpenOffice?
We'll need to, we'll probably need to test that, Julie, or just bring that up in our support meeting on Thursday with the developers and ask about that one.
Okay. Now, there's a question about Chrome.
Okay.
The matrix that we have on the home page that explains not everything works with Chrome. Can you just explain a little bit about what's going on?
Sure. So, so the development goal is to make all of our tools multi-browser compatible. Today, I mostly use Chrome. The tools that aren't available in Chrome are Review Responses, Single Response Coder Interface, Edit the Codebook, and Phrase Analyzer. Okay, so those are the 4 tools that aren't available in Chrome today. Phrase Analyzer is being rewritten and will be out in version, was that version 8.2, I believe, August. The new version of Phrase Analyzer will be available. Okay, in the meantime, if we want to use Phrase Analyzer, we have to use Internet Explorer. One of the other things that is not available in Chrome, and you'll see this if I go back to my questions page, is the export to Excel. Okay, version 8 will see the reintroduction of exporting our tables to Excel when we're in Chrome. The code that we use to export to Excel is available only in IE. So as we're in this transition period, when you're using Chrome, the Excel exports are not available, but they will be in V8. Does that cover it okay? I should say also, guys, that Ascribe Coder, IE8 is not it's not a good experience. Ascribe Coder and IE8 just don't work well together. IE9 is a better experience, but some of the drag drop features are just not. It can be frustrating to use IE9. We're finding the best experiences are with IE10 and IE11 in some cases, and then I mainly use Ascribe, or not Ascribe Chrome. I mainly use Google Chrome when I'm coding in Ascribe today, and for my demonstrations. Okay,
Laura, do you mind going back to the summary issue?
Sure.
One of the users has come up with a little suggestion for us, and I thought it would be nice for you to demonstrate it.
Okay.
So go ahead and put it down to summary, and then go back out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just click the drop-down arrow there.
Control click.
Yeah, control click, and you'll be fine.
Yep, it's control click. So again, when we're going through and we're looking at the summary, we see it, and then we want to go back to the entire. We just hit control click. You click on it, and it expands the whole code book. I knew there was a shortcut to that. I just didn't know it right off the top of my head.
Okay.
There we go.
A couple more questions.
Sure.
One is a general question. How do you know that your connection is still intact? In other words, do you remember the session? They want to know, will you automatically get disconnected after a certain time without operation? In other words, if you haven't been active, will Ascribe log you off?
Well, yes. That's always been the case with Ascribe. If you're inactive for 45 minutes to an hour, it's usually right at 45 minutes, then your session will expire, and you'll need to log back in.
Okay. I think that addresses it, Laura. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right. And if you have another minute, could you show how to add a net and add codes?
Sure. So, okay, you can add nets and add codes with the codebook unlocked. I mean locked. Locked. So to add a net, I'm going to just choose Insert, and I'm going to say Below. So I'm going to be adding a net below the residue subnet, and I'm going to just call this Laura's new net. There we go. I'm going to toggle on the net option and hit OK. So now I have a new net. I can add codes into this net by inserting into, and this is my new code that will be in my net. Okay? So that's one way to do it. We can also, when the codebook is unlocked, we can add a net the same way, but then we could take the codes that we wanted to put into that net, grab them, right-click on the net, and move selection into. And again, even when the codebook's unlocked, I also have insert code into. Okay, if I wanted him at the bottom, and just move it down. So that's the way. In the unlocked mode, we can change a code that has not been used, that has not been applied, into a net. But that idea that we have in review responses of dragging a code into another code to make a net isn't available here. Okay. Does that answer it, Julie?
Yes, that's fine. There's
Okay.
one more question.
Okay, sure.
Okay, I'm just going to read this to you. It says, when you click on a code and see all the responses that are currently in it, In the old version, you can select a response and take off the codes and revert that respondent to be recoded. So can we do that?
So, all right. So let me just think about this for a minute. So when we do responses, you know, in the old version of Ascribe, in the single response coder interface, we had a checkbox that allowed us to resubmit these, to uncode them and resubmit them for coding. I believe what we can do instead is select the code and hit search any, and it brings them all up. And you could, let's see, we can select all of these, and we could even do, I know how to do this, select all codes and selected responses, and then remove all the selected codes. That would be a way to do that. Or you could go through individually and remove the codes. I guess the difference is if you have multiple codes applied, you would do it one at a time. But I understand what you're talking about here. I'd like more information on that, and when you're doing that, and you know, are you mainly asking here if we don't select the code, boop, and we hit responses, you want that option to toggle the box and say, you know, uncode all those. Yeah, I think this might be, I'd like you to give it a try this way and see if this works for you, and if it doesn't, just give us the feedback.
Laura, can you show the search option again? In other words, the search any or search all.
Sure. And you know, yeah, sure. So let me just do, let me go back out to questions and come back in real quick. All right, and go into Ascribe Coder. Okay, so if I want to bring up the responses that were coded to all other appearance to hair, I first select my code, then I right-click and hit Search Any, and it brings up the responses that have all other appearance to hair mentions. Okay, if I want to bring up the responses that say expensive price, Search Any, and it brings up my responses that say expensive price. And I'm going to do something here. Oh, of course, because they're all the same, they're all going to get that code. But there we go. I've got code duplicates turned on. Let me do, I didn't have this set up to show coding today, so I'm in a different thing here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is apply this code here and here. I just want to show this. Don't grade me on my coding. There we go. Okay, so I've got 4 people in Not Controls Eliminate Static and 2 people in Sticky on Hair. I select both codes, I right-click, I get 2 options, Search Any, Search All. Search Any is going to bring up the respondents that have either Sticky on Hair applied or Not Control Eliminate Static applied. So when I do that, I've got 9 responses returned. Okay, so they're all oh, I still had expensive price. Like, that doesn't make sense. I should have seen up here that I had 3 selected. Now I've got 2 selected. Search Any. It brings up 5 responses, those that have Not Control Eliminate Static and those that have Sticky, or those that have, it brings up the responses that have either Not Control Eliminate Static or Sticky on Hair. If I right-click and hit Search All, it brings up just those responses that have both Not Control Eliminate Static and Sticky on Hair applied. Okay, so that's how our Search All, Search Any works. If you right-click on a code without selecting it, you can see the responses that were coded. Okay, that's it. This is a read-only. You're just seeing them. If you want to do something with them, then you're going to want to select the code and then right-click and hit Search Any. Okay? The reason that we have Search Any is because our users group, previously, if we wanted to search all or search any, we would have to open up our search box and then go down to any or all here. But the users group had some pushback on that and suggested that we bring in a right-click Search All, Search Any option. So that's why we have a Search All, Search Any today. Okay. Does that cover that, Julie?
Yes, that's fine.
Good.
Somebody asked, how can they practice instead of using a live study? And they want to know if there is a training site or something. Do you have any suggestions for them, Laura?
Well, I would save and restore a study. I would. That's what most of our team has done. Is you go out and you would file, save the study, and then set it up as a test. You know, save it off, then restore it, and when you restore it, restore as new and call it your test for practicing.
Yes, that's a great idea, and that way they can just use their own site then to practice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. Okay. All right, Julia, I think we're out of time. Are we? Have we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And and we've answered all the questions. So
okay,
I think
great.
That's good.
Okay, so guys, one of the things that I like to end on is that, you know, as you're using Ascribe Coder, please continue to give us feedback through Ascribe support. I will, as soon as the videos are available, I'll let you know on the home page. And anytime that you have to go in and use review responses or the single response coder interface or edit the code book, let us know why you're doing that. We might be able to suggest something in Ascribe Coder, or you might point us to something that needs to be tweaked in Ascribe Coder. So we are open to all feedback. And thanks again for hanging out with us today and looking at Ascribe Coder, and I hope that you can attend some more of these.